Hare Krishna. Welcome to our channel, Bhagavad-gita. Here it is, because we have Bhagavad-gita as it is. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and my name is Bhagavad-gita. We are reading the 13th chapter, and we will hear about Paramatma today, Super Soul. So stay with us.
Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalang.
So this chapter is called Nature, the Enjoyer and Consciousness. And that means nature, which is everything here, that's Krishna's energies. And basically it's, we're speaking of matter. Consciousness, well, we have consciousness. And the enjoyer, well, we're speaking about the soul and we're speaking about super soul. Both the soul and super soul has consciousness. We are trying to enjoy in this world. And yeah, it's not really working out. Krishna by nature enjoys everything, and we by nature, we are blissful when we are connected to him. But when we kind of try to break that connection, then then we have this world. And of course, we have to admit that this world is fantastic and that everything is basically a miracle, but it's not our natural habitat. It's not our element, really. And Krishna comes with us as super soul, so he's always very close. But unless we want to see him, we won't see him. But eventually, being in this world long enough, everything else will frustrate us. And that's when we turn to the Bhagavad-gita. So I'm reading the verse, Sanskrit. Jnanena atmani pashyanti kischit atmanam atmana anye sankyena yogena karma yogena chapare. Some perceive the super soul within themselves through meditation, others through the cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without fruitive desires. Purport. The Lord informs Arjuna that the conditioned souls can be divided into two classes as far as man's search for self-realization is concerned. Those are atheists, agnostics, and skeptics. Those who are atheists, agnostics, and skeptics are beyond the sense of spiritual understanding. But there are others who are faithful in their understanding of spiritual life, and they are called introspective devotees, philosophers, and workers who have renounced fruitive results. Those who always try to establish the doctrine of monism are also counted among the atheists and agnostics. In other words, only devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are best situated in spiritual understanding, because they understand that beyond this material nature are the spiritual world, and that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is expanded as the Paramatma, the super soul in everyone, the all-pervading Godhead. Yes, so we are in this world, and I'm in Sweden, and here we are extremely secular, but all over the world, more and more, we see that religion is taking a backseat, because religion, at least the way it presents itself, is often kind of stagnant. It's often kind of, how to say, it has stagnated into a form. And then we hear of what is this and what is that. But spiritual life is something more. And I'm actually not saying that religion is a bad thing. I'm just saying that sometimes the way religion presents itself doesn't connect with a modern, rational persons. And then we see this predominance of, Prabhupada describes atheists, agnostics, and skeptics, and even spiritually monists. And I know that when I look around, when I read articles and watch people presenting different ideas, it's very often with this underlying understanding that, oh yeah, religion, we rejected that long ago. Oh yes, scriptures, that somebody wrote some books and then they made up something beyond this world, And that's just something we want to throw out, and then we want to be rational and do things the best we can. And I think it's so unfortunate, because very often these are the intelligent people. And if they would be a little more open-minded and use that intelligence not just to analyze the situation in this world, but apply it to the spiritual knowledge, how far they could go and how helpful they could be. Because you look at the Bhagavad-gita and you study the Bhagavad-gita, and if you're able, because I'm also a modern person, I'm also conditioned by this skepticism and rationalism, and some of the terms come up, and I have to kind of, sit with that reaction of rejecting it out of habit. When Prabhupada says, you have to do this, and I'm thinking, I don't have to do anything. And it's true, I don't have to do anything. This world, we have the discussion of free will or predestination. And you can't really answer it, because in this world we have both. We have free will. It's our desire that drives everything. It's our desire that took us to this material world in the first place, and it's our desire that's propelling us forward. But then that desire always is filtered through the present body and the present consciousness we're having here. And then whatever we do with those desires, they will bring reactions, because the Sanskrit word karma, it means action, but implied in the word action is also reaction. Whatever we do, it comes back to us one way or another, this life or a life further ahead. So if all we want to do in this world is to, take the material ingredients and sort them out and put them back in a better order, maybe we could do things like that. We can look at the world and we see some people have food, some don't have food. Why don't we share it? Why don't we share the means? Why don't we share the knowledge? We could do all these things. It would still be the material world. We would still have to die. We would still have to face our own karma, even if we build up a very good structure in this world, or as good as we can, understand it by ourselves. We would still have to die. And therefore, if we can turn this impulse for knowledge, for rationality, for using our bright intelligence on the real problems in this world. So I don't know how to say this, because being religious is not a bad thing. Having faith in God is a good thing. And by applying that faith, you will come closer to God. But I'm just thinking about all the people who are not able to listen to that, because they have somehow gotten into such a habit of thinking. Because really, I think in this world today, maybe in I don't remember the terms for these things, but 1800s, when you started to get into this science thing and enlightenment thing, and you started to question religion, then maybe it was a brave thing to reject the church, because especially here in Europe, we can see how the church kind of had less and less knowledge and more power, and it became kind of imbalanced. And that's what we hear from the Vedic structure as well. The problems with Kali Yuga didn't start with people rejecting God. It started by the Brahmanas becoming less than ideal, not living up to their duties, but still maintaining their position. And therefore, the other groups would not be inclined to listen to them, because they didn't have the purity and that generosity anymore to be there for the rest of us. And so gradually, everything fell away from their original position. So, as far as I can see, a lot of the atheism we see in this world, in this culture, is a reaction against what religion did and how religion presents itself. And therefore, what I'm hoping is that intelligent and honest people will be able to look beyond those knee-jerk reactions. You hear certain words, you hear about God, and you hear about regulative principles, and you hear that you have to do things, and to move beyond that and see what would be the benefits of actually taking this knowledge in. Because the Bhagavad-gita is not a religion. Bhakti yoga is not a religion. Bhakti is the nature of the soul. We are that soul. And living in this world, being an eternal spirit soul, because really, I don't know who I'm talking to now. I think I'm talking to the last person I watched on YouTube who was so very skeptical and who was also compassionate and caring and intelligent and rational and wanting to do something about the problems in this world with inequality and with concentration of riches and with other people having, not enough food, not enough medicine, and not enough security in their jobs. And these are actual real problems, and they could be actually really solved. But it doesn't mean that we have to reject our spiritual nature, because without it, it doesn't matter how rational and how much we study science and how much we actually move that science forward, we cannot understand consciousness, because consciousness comes from the soul, and the soul is separate from all of this material existence. And learning all these other things at the cost of neglecting understanding the nature of the soul, that's a problem, because we have this human form of life where we have all this consciousness, intelligence, we have the abilities, we can connect to the spiritual knowledge that have been passed down through ages. And I just I just want to say we shouldn't miss that opportunity, because certain other aspects of religion has been problematic. So we want to go in there and deal with that which is problematic, but at the same time see beyond our own biases, see beyond our own preconceived notion, because that's what we see. We see the external, we see the presentation, but what is the actual spiritual knowledge kept through the ages, kept in these books? So we don't want to become romantic and sentimental and think, oh yes, 100 years ago everybody lived in the countries and they went to church and therefore they were so pious and those were better days. They probably were not better days, because they were problematic in their own right. So yeah, just we accept that the world is a problematic place. But what is the solution that will get to the root of the problem? That thing is to understand that we are actually not part of this whole material setup. We are a spirit soul. So that doesn't mean we just spend this life just believing in something and then we think when we die we will go back to a better place. It means in this very lifetime we apply the process of Bhakti Yoga and we can have those realizations for ourselves. Yes, this is good. Last time we filmed, I was vaguely remembering the 24 elements in this world, and I can see here Prabhupada is speaking about them, so I will continue reading. Of course, there are those who try to understand the Supreme Absolute Truth by cultivation of knowledge, and they can be counted in the class of the faithful. The Sankhya philosophers analyze this material world into 24 elements, and they place the individual soul as a 25th item. When they are able to understand the nature of the individual soul to be transcendental to the material elements, they are able to understand also that above the individual soul there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's a 26th element. Thus gradually they also come to the standard of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Those who work without fruitive results are also perfect in their attitude. They are given a chance to advance to the platform of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Here it is stated that there are some people who are pure in consciousness and who try to find out the supersoul by meditation, and when they discover the supersoul within themselves, they become transcendently situated. Similarly, there are others who also try to understand the Supreme Soul by cultivation of knowledge, and there are others who cultivate the Hatha Yoga system and who try to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by childish activities. Yes, so here we're going back a little bit. We were reading in the 5th and 6th chapter about the different yoga methods that are presented in the Vedic scriptures, and they bring us to a platform, and when we get to that platform, then we can embrace devotion to the Supreme. So that is always there, that is always available. The thing is, when we look at this world, when we look at the history, we can see cultures coming and going, and even in the modern time we can see trends coming and going. They don't last 100 of years. We're happy if they last 10 years or 5 years or 2 years, and they come and they go. We have new discoveries, scientific discoveries, then we have something else coming that just throws the old understanding over, because it cannot stand when the new knowledge comes. So this world is just full of constantly changing, and therefore the process of Bhakti Yoga is not changing. It is the eternal nature of the soul, but the presentation to reach through the culture has to adjust a little bit. So Prabhupada is writing. It's like I really like reading Prabhupada's books because he has this voice, and sometimes devotees like to think that his language is so Indian and his style is so old-fashioned, but actually he has a very simple form. He doesn't make it unnecessarily academic. He doesn't make it unnecessarily poetic either, which sometimes you can get lost in something if it's too beautiful. He's just right to the point, but that point is so alive and dynamic. So his language, he has this really distinct voice. When you read his books, you start to kind of feel very at home in Prabhupada's voice, because it presents something as it is. Because he didn't want to add anything. He also didn't want to remove anything. He just wanted us to be able to get to Krishna's world, Krishna's word, at this time where we are now. So whatever we do, if we are sincere about it, if we are sincere about being very honest and not accepting something that is just appealing to our senses or just applicable to the external world or to our bodily existence, if we are very sincere and we are very honest with ourselves, then this will resonate within us. And then when we find that position where we are inspired by Krishna's words, by Prabhupada's words, but we're not fully there in our own realizations and in our own lives, then Krishna also in Bhagavad-gita points to a process. So we can start to practice Krishna consciousness, and then that will make the heart open up again. That will wake us up again, and we will find ourselves situated and connected to Krishna. So let's just start that. And we will have good days and we will have bad days, but then we will have something that is eternal and that is real and that is actually where we can find ourselves at home. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.